The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Talk Radio. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. First of all, I got to check. Did that opening play okay?
Yes, it sure did.
Oh, good, because the gods of the computers are messing with me because it was breaking up over here. But as long as it was good, that means that it went out good, and so that's good. And stuff. It is great to talk to you. I've been looking forward to meeting you.
Oh, I've been looking forward to meeting you, Kevin. I'm thrilled that you have this show, by the way, because my husband and I just have to say this. Just last week, we were out for dinner somewhere in Alpharetta, Georgia, and the area was beautiful and everyone was having a great time. It was a diverse crowd, strangers smiling at each other. And we thought, you know what? People need to see more of this. And this is your show is all about kindness and happiness. And I just want to say thank you so much for doing this.
You are so mostly welcome because I enjoy doing it a great deal. It's my passion. It's my grit, if you will. And that's what I do. And by the way, I should set this up properly because you deserve to be set up properly. We're talking with Audra Zimpel, and she's out of Georgia. She's an intuitive life coach, and she works with a good friend that we both know, and her name is Allison Roberts. And you're going to be there for the Behind the Power, and you're conducting you're having a talk, and then you're doing a breakout room. So which is awesome. And by the way, I got to go through this because they're here. And Carrie Betts, who was just on the show the other day, says hi.
Hi, Carrie.
And Audra and John, who's on the other show last week, says hi.
Hi, John.
And Christine says hi. And Karen Thomas says, hey, gorgeous. She must know you personally.
She does. Yes. Awesome.
She's watching us from the Atlanta airport.
Nice. Wow, you're close to me.
Yeah, well, fly carefully wherever you're going. Yes. And I thank you all for tuning in. It's great fun to have everybody here. And I told Audra before we began, it's like you guys you stick up for one another, you believe in one another, you work together. It makes my heart warm that there are groups of people out there like you. It's just amazing.
Oh, that's so nice. I think I was telling you earlier, Kevin, I feel like I won the lottery meeting Allison because she's amazing. And the community that she has created is just incredible. You're exactly right. It's so supportive. I've never experienced anything quite like it. It's really a gift.
And each of you have come from a different background. You've come from one of you was in bed a lot and didn't want to get out of bed, and everybody's life story is a little bit different. So, what's yours?
Well, Kevin, I'm glad you asked. So, I was born at a very young age. No, I'm kidding.
I was born a young white female.
I grew up in Southeast Missouri, and
I'm sorry.
That's what my husband sometimes says that, but he's just kidding. And if you knew the people I grew up with, you would not be sorry. They were great people in Southeast Missouri. But
just so you know, I work for a chicken company out of Arkansas called Simmons, and they had a plant in Southeast Missouri.
Really? Oh, small world.
Yes, indeed. And they also had a feather rendering plant, which if you lived anywhere near it, you would have smelled that thing.
Oh, I don't think
Um,
I must have not lived near it. I don't recall that.
well,
So,
that's good, but it's a beautiful area. I got to tell you, except for two itty bitty teeny weeny things,
oh, okay.
snakes and spiders.
Oh, well, I have some of those in my yard here in Georgia. So,
Another reason why I live in Seattle, Washington. You see that right there? That's
well, I grew up in, just to give you a little background, I grew up in Southeast Missouri and I found myself in California. I lived in California for about 20 years. And then I've been in Georgia for the past 3 years. So we did a big cross country move. But I feel like I've had several lifetimes, different careers. And I met Allison at the perfect time when I was just beginning my coaching career again. I had done some coaching before, mostly fitness training, but some mindset coaching. But I was focused. I finally got the call that the message was clear. I needed to move to intuitive life coaching as my primary gig, and I absolutely love it. But when I met Allison, you really do. What is that saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears?
Yep.
That is so true. And I've had incredible coaches that I've worked with in the past. I've worked with some incredible therapists before. And I was at my next level and ready for Allison. And she's just been just a godsend to me because I feel like we all have our blind spots. I think God designed it that way so that we would need each other, to grow. And so she was there, and she's so amazing at helping you see your blind spots and taking you to your next level, which is what I do with my clients as well. And so I just have an incredible mentor in Allison.
And she is indeed. Now, in your bio, you were saying that there was a time in your life when you were not doing as well, when there was a little bit of depression in there. And
Yeah.
would you like to go into that and describe? Because I believe that we are a sum total of all the experiences that we've had in life. And okay, all of them are by design so that we can become who we really are.
Yeah.
And we need to have those, both good and bad, and accept them, both good and bad, and then move through them to get to who we really are. At least that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree with you. I think we're right in line together on that. And I can see that I had more than one episode of deep depression, and I can see how it has all worked to help me with, I can help my clients in a deeper way. Just for my specific journey, it all worked out how it was supposed to. I can see that. And, for me, I feel like what breaks my heart is when someone gets stuck in one of their so-called negative experiences, because I feel like, God does give us free will, and we need to be willing to grow. He can't make us grow, right? And
That's
so it
part of
breaks.
free will.
Yes. And so it breaks my heart when people get stuck there. And so I'm so grateful that I believe God brought me the perfect teachers to help me along my path. And I'm grateful for that. And just to answer the question about depression, I'm glad you asked that, because I do think it's so important to talk about, especially now with the pandemic, so many more people are experiencing depression. And although I think the stigma attached to mental health issues is less, it's still there. And in some communities, it's still, you feel like, oh gosh, someone's going to think I'm weak if I say that I'm having some mental health struggles. So I'm glad you asked about that. And I'm an open book. The first time, I think I probably was dealing with some depression as a child and didn't know. I lost my dad. Unfortunately, he took his own life when I was 7 years old, and he dealt with mental health issues. And I loved my dad, and that's another way that everything works together as part of your path. Although I would much prefer to have him here physically, I'd love to hug him. I was so determined to stay in contact with him as a child, because I was really afraid I would forget him, that I spent a lot of time trying to talk to him. And what I actually did without realizing it was tap into an intuitive gift that I have. And I use that with my clients today. But so anyway, so I think probably as a child I had some, and then it really came to a point where I had to get some help when I had graduated from college and was trying to decide what to do with the rest of my life. And I know so many young people are in that situation, right? And I finally got to the point where I just couldn't function. I had been accepted to law school, but I couldn't commit, and just all of this stuff was going on. And I finally had to tell my mom, I think I need help. And God love my mom. I don't blame her for this, but she really didn't want to face it because it scared her to death after what happened to my dad. And again, I think that's what happens a lot. So people don't talk about it, or they ignore the signs. So that's when I first had, a big episode of depression. And for me at that time, therapy and medication was crucial. Like, it just made all the difference for me. So that was the first episode. It did happen again when I was out in LA. It does feel like I've had a really long life. I am going to be 50 this year. And as I'm telling this story, it does seem like 50 years long. I thank you for calling me a child.
Listen, from my perspective, you're a child.
So anyway, so I had gotten back on track, and actually was doing great in LA and was pursuing acting, which is a passion that I had always wanted to pursue. And it was great until it wasn't. And then the negative voice started going in loops, and the depression hit again, in a big way. And for the first time, I actually really understood, at least a little bit, as I believe I was understanding how my dad was feeling, because I got to that place, I was walking down the street and there was traffic coming, and I had been unable to stop crying for more than 20 minutes for like 3 days. The chemicals were off. Everything was just, I wasn't myself. And I actually thought, well, it might be a really good idea just to step in front of the traffic. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I've got to get some help. And I think that happens to so many people. And fortunately, I think because I do have that intuitive gift, it never left me, which I think everyone has. Mm-hmm. Again, it's the willingness to open up to it. But because I had that, I think, I was able to have the presence of mind to reach out and get help. So.
Well, I'm glad you did. And, a couple things I just want to make, because you thought about jumping out into traffic. Mm-hmm. In my storied long career, I was also a bus driver for 12 years. And they actually talked about, in training, death by suicide.
Wow.
That there were people then that's why you had to be very careful and watch people intently, because there were people who would step in front of your bus with the intention of killing themselves. So it's, but you know what I like about your story? Okay, let's first of all, you're very attractive.
Oh, thank you.
You're very smart. You got to go to law. You had an invitation to go to law school. Mm-hmm. You were an actress. There are people out there that are feeling depressed that would go, "Good Lord, what does she have to be depressed about?" Mm-hmm. So you operate from a unique position, because you can then say, "No, look, this is what happened to me. And just because I had some good things happen didn't prevent me from the bad things."
Right.
And so you are in a perfect position to help people, which is why you're doing what you're doing, and why you've had the experiences that you've had, because now you're in a perfect position to help people.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And you bring up a good point. We really don't know what's going on with people, right? We see the outsides. We don't see the insides. We have no idea. And just to give a little bit of background with what was going on with me, when my dad passed away, that was terrifying. And, one of the things I knew a little bit about this before, but Allison, working with her, has really helped me understand that children make up stories so they can make sense of what's going on around them. And those stories become the truth that they live out of, even if they're totally not based in reality. For them, it's their reality. And so I believed in that moment when my mom told us what happened to my dad, I immediately felt guilt and shame. I thought
Mhm.
I wasn't enough. I didn't do enough and it was my fault. And yeah, so that started feeling unworthy, then trying to hide that I wasn't good enough and trying to be perfect, and people pleasing, because if everyone was happy, then I could feel safe, because this world was certainly not safe if my dad could just cease to exist.
And I imagine it was also just a little bit of not only were you not good enough, but he didn't love me,
Oh,
or that.
yeah. Like I wasn't worth staying around for.
And that, as you know, after talking with him through these years, you know that that is absolutely not true.
Yes, I know without a doubt he loves me so much.
And he is extraordinarily sorry for what he did.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And which is why, fast forward to conference, I'm really thrilled that you're going to be doing a workshop on suicide and suicide prevention and that kind of stuff. And
Yes.
we talked about it before the show, and I'm not going to repeat the story here because it's too long. But we both, you and I, have had suicides in our lives,
Mhm.
and I've seen the devastation that it can cause to a family.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just, it's horrible. And the reality is that they don't, when you're in the grip of that, which is why I'm hopeful that you can help people, and I know you can. When you're in the grip of depression and stuff like that, you just can't see your way out.
Mm-mm. No, you can't. You can't. It is so painful. And I know if people haven't experienced that, it is hard to understand. I think I mentioned in my chapter that I had trouble getting out of bed and getting dressed and walking down the street. And if you've never experienced that, you might be like, well, you just get up, you get dressed, you walk down the street, you know?
Exactly.
How hard can it be? And it's just crazy. The thoughts, like you have all of these negative thoughts on top of each other, on top of each other, on top of each other, and so much pain. And because, our thoughts create our feelings. So, and you're on this negative loop of negative feelings. And so then you're feeling worthless. And I would have, at my worst, I had a loop that would say, you're worthless, you're a burden on your family. So it's almost like you get into the flip side. You think this is actually best for them. And I truly believe my dad was thinking at the time he was doing what was best for his family when he did what he did, which is so heartbreaking.
It really is, because he, not only does he did he miss out on life, but he missed out on watching you grow up,
Yeah,
and that became for him a big deal, because he recognized far too late that that was an important thing that he wanted. Because right when he went to the other side, all of that crap that he was carrying around with him went away.
right. Yeah.
So then he recognized, oh shit, what have I done?
Yes, yes.
And what I want to impress upon people is, let's catch these people before they go and say, oh shit, what have I done? Before
Exactly.
they do it.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And one of the things that is also heartbreaking to me is when you see someone, whether they've lost a friend or a family member, and they're so angry, which I understand, but I get nervous for the person that's close to them that's actually having some of the thoughts, but they see their reaction and they think, oh, I'm not going to tell her that I'm thinking that. She'll think I'm selfish and be angry at me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the stories we tell ourselves are just, if you, some of them, if you were to actually say them out loud, nobody would believe you.
I know. That's so true. It's so true.
Because I was talking to somebody the other day, and he said, we'll talk to ourselves, unlike we'll talk to anybody else. We would never tell our child what we tell ourselves. We would never tell our significant other. We would never tell anybody, but we sit there in front of a mirror and we tell ourselves all these things.
Right.
And that, and we believe them.
And we believe him. And what's really scary, and we work with this, I work with this with my clients, and then Allison's done so much work with us on this, that you'll have thoughts and you're not aware of them, but your mind is aware of them and creates the feeling to go along with it and has you living out of that filter, So even though I may not be aware that I'm calling myself stupid, something in there is very aware of it and starts feeling terrible. And you're thinking, I was having a great day. Why am I feeling terrible now?
Well, sometimes you don't even know. The thought does not become a conscious thought. It's just a feeling.
Right.
And it all just kind of works together that way. And, I think, well, I don't know, you're the coach. Does everybody suffer from depression from time to time?
Well, I think everyone feels sadness from time to time. I think that's human. I really do. But I think depression, the type of depression I had a chemical component to it. And so I think not everyone is predisposed to that. Some people are very predisposed to that. And it's important to be vigilant about monitoring your mental health, But I think everyone has sadness and gets blue.
I have a, can you coach me for a second?
Sure.
I would love that. I had a moment today. I have a couple of people I work with. One is her name is Holly, and she is trying to help me do a lot of things with the podcast and the monetize and do all that kind of stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so today I wake up and we're on this thing called Slack where we can communicate back and forth and stuff. And she has gone and done some research on a bunch of different topics. Mm-hmm. One of the things that she did research on and put into Slack was how to improve your interviewing skills.
Okay.
I have always thought that my interviewing skills were part of my package, was one of my best thing. So, yes. So then my mother, so Holly was over here with the 9 steps to improve this. My mother was over here saying, you're just not good enough. Mm-hmm. And so then my mother talked to Holly and was saying, you're right, Holly, he's not good enough to be able to do this. And so it's one of the, it is so self-defeating.
Isn't it? Yes. And it's interesting that brought this particular thing up. I just did a TikTok. I'm new to TikTok. I think it was like my, I don't know, 4th or 5th video ever. But I did this about how to change your emotional state fast. And so the way it applies to this is, first, you ask yourself, what am I making this mean? So when you saw that she had researched interviewing skills, which, by the way, I think you're an amazing interviewer. So I'm with you. I think that's part of your package. It's fantastic. But when you saw that she did that, what were you making it mean? And you might have been, it sounds like, making it mean, oh, I'm not good enough yet, or she doesn't think I'm good enough. Is that right?
Yeah, that's more along the lines of, no, wait a minute. I get compliments all the time, and now you're saying I'm not good. And see, and then I attributed it, because of the work that I'm doing with people like you and with Allison and stuff like that. I followed the trail a little bit farther.
Yeah.
And the trail was, my mother had a and she's passed now, so I can talk badly about her. No. But my mother had and I think a lot of parents do, she had a habit of, even when you did something extraordinarily well, I was a really good athlete and whatever, she would say, she would finish the line of, that was a really good game, but.
Yeah.
And then it would be because she didn't want me to get a big oversized head thinking I was all that in a bag of chips, and that she wanted to keep me. So she would always throw in. And so it got to the point where, and I think many of us are like this, got to the point where I disregarded the compliment and accepted the but.
And you probably were waiting for the but, right?
I was. So how do you get the but out of your head?
That's a good question. Well, I think the short answer is to realize that was about her and not you.
Yes.
Right. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because in her mind, I don't know her. I didn't know her, but she probably thought she was being loving. Like she was protecting you from getting a big head. Who knows? Maybe something like, she had a boyfriend one time that got a big head and ruined his personality. I mean, you just never know. Right. And so she might have thought she was doing you a favor. And she didn't realize that that's really not necessary. You can just go with the compliment.
Well, the interesting thing is the coaches and stuff that I've really been close to, they were positive motivational coaches,
Yeah.
and not so they never said. Matter of fact, one of my coaches that was in when we were in Little League, he was yelling at a kid, and the kid started crying, and he said, "Look, when I stop yelling at you, that's when you've got to be concerned, because then I don't care. I
Huh.
care and I love you, and I want to be you to be the best you can, and so
Mhm.
I'm trying to give you coaching advice and tips." And for some reason, I was like 8 years old, and that resonated with me for my whole life. But when people so now, and I have to coach my friend Holly up that if she wants to watch me crash and burn, just say, "You do a great job, bud."
Right, exactly. And
Because
that's such a great point to let people know, okay, this is what's going to create this effect in me. Because as you get to know yourself more and more with the people that are close to you, and they care about the relationship, I think that's a great thing to say, hey, I want to share this with you, just so you know, this is kind of how my mind works, you know?
and until you can um rationally make sense of it, it is a feeling.
Mhm.
It is not even so, it's not even a conscious thing. It's just a, oh man, I suck. I hate that. You know?
Right. And then so many people don't take the time they just think, they just leave it there and they don't examine it. And, we may have been, some of my partners with Behind the Power may have already talked about this, but we do a lot of thought models with Allison to get under the thought and the feeling, and you dig down and get underneath it. So it's so powerful. And then you can choose an empowering thought to have instead once you understand what's going on.
And that is a brilliant strategy.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah. And with Holly, I like to make up, this is the other part of my TikTok video. It's so funny me saying TikTok video. It's so new that I'm even on there. I feel like I'm too old to be on there. But anyway, the other part was, asking what else could it have meant? Maybe she sees you, you're already super successful. Maybe she sees you just going to the whole next level, like global huge explosion in your viewership. And so that's why she's saying, let's just see if there's anything else that we can add to what you're already doing. She may have meant it in a complimentary way.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
She see, but that's how insidious it is.
Yes, yes.
That somebody can say something to you in a real. By the way, she is now getting educated, because she'll be listening to this at one point or another.
Hi, Holly.
Exactly. But that's how insidious our brain works. And the stories that we have in our head don't go away. And even when you're aware of them, and which is why you need a coach, you need somebody to be able to pick up the phone and say, I'm feeling shitty because everybody says this, and then to work through it with you.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right. And again, because we can't see our own blind spots, and because, right away, as you told the story, right away, I knew Holly didn't mean anything bad about it. I knew she meant it in a good way. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
because it's you, even if you consciously knew she didn't mean anything bad, it still triggered something and related to what your mom used to do.
Exactly. And so for my entire life, it appears, I'm by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm being psychoanalyzed right here. And Audra is helping me psychoanalyze myself. This is, I got to tell you, this is more fun than a human should be able to have. But
I'm glad.
but but see, that's the thing. My entire I've done well. I'll just say that in my life, in everything that I've done, I was a professional. Was a manager. I was a national sales manager for another company. I've done a lot of really cool stuff
Yes.
in my life. I was an actor. I was and did
Oh my gosh.
and stuff. And so I've done some really cool stuff for me. Would you explain to me why it is that I don't accept compliments, but as gospel, but I do accept negative feedback as gospel?
Oh, yes, yes. So that's distorted thinking. So
Oh, thank you.
yes. Congratulations.
I'm now the owner of distorted thinking. That's good to
You
know.
are. Yes, because, and we all have all these sorts of distorted thinking. And that one is if 100 people give you a compliment, right? And one person says something negative, you'll focus on the negative. That's what you're saying. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And a lot of times just being aware of it is huge. That, like Allison says, that's 90% of the cure.
Exactly. I mean, it is so insidious that for me that one time I was the my kids Cub Scout the Cub Master,
Uh-huh.
and we when I started being Cub Master, there were three returning kids. When I quit being Cub Master, there were 75 kids, and we had hundreds of parents that would come to the meetings, and
Wow.
it was a really big deal. And when I gave it up, they gave me a standing ovation,
Oh my
but
gosh, that's
I did
awesome.
not accept it as real because I felt like somebody is not going to is thinking something else. It's really insidious. It's
Oh,
terrible.
yes, yes, it is. And I'm so glad that you talk about it because I know you have viewers out there, listeners out there saying, I thought I was the only person that did that. You know what I mean? We always think we're the only one that thinks that stuff like that. But that's so interesting. And then probably Allison's talked to you about, we have that part of our brain that tries to keep us really safe and not have any other new experiences. So that's a way that it can keep you really safe. Like you don't want to have a new experience because they were probably, not being honest with their standing ovation, which is, when you say it out loud, it's ridiculous. Like you said.
Well, I have to tell you a quick story about Allison, and then hopefully she's listening because I appreciate the heck out of her and what she did.
Yes, she's
She
awesome.
was on my show, and one of the things that I've always done is I tend to. Do you remember Mickey Rooney and Shirley Temple?
Yes.
They would always have these little movies, and something terrible would happen, and then one would say to the other, well, we need to make some money. Well, I've got some lights, I've got a barn, let's put on a show. And then they would go and they'd put on a show anyway. So that's what I have always done is say, come on in, you can join my world. Yeah, come on in and you can help me do this, and we'll do this, and we'll put on a show. It's
I
never
like
worked. It's always turned out badly. And I asked Allison, I said, why does it keep turning out badly? And without missing a beat, she said, because you don't value yourself.
Mm, right.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
she was spot on.
Wow. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Because, going back to that example of you only listen to the one negative thing when there are 100 positive things, what's great is when your self-worth grows and grows and grows, you're more able to look at that one comment and go, is there any truth to that? And either say, maybe I can make a little shift and it doesn't affect your self-worth. Or you actually can say, let me see, is that fit? Nope, they don't know what they're talking about. That's, and you can feel confident in that because you're solid in your self-worth.
Well, and if you lived here, I'd go see you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do coach virtually, just so anyone out there who needs a coach, I coach through Zoom.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
And if there's anything the pandemic, that's actually not bad. The
it's not bad.
the pandemic has done is it has made Zoom more accessible, and people are used to operating it that would have problems with it before,
So
and all
true.
that kind of stuff. So it really works. And there's one more one I wanted to run by you that I think happens to a lot of people is that we tell ourselves stories about ourselves that were told to us by a 6-year-old child at the time when we were 6 years old,
Mhm.
and yet we have accepted it as gospel our entire lives. Why do we do that? Can't we recognize that this was not only was he a 6-year-old idiot, he was an asshole? So
Right.
why should I take on his story for my entire life?
Well, and that's another, just Allison, I feel like we should play a game every time we say her name because she's got the best stuff, right? It's
We
so
could
good.
play a drinking game. That would be
Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
yeah. She has taught us so much about, and again, I knew a little bit about this before, but she took it to the next level for me of going back and talking to your 6-year-old and being the loving parent and guide to that 6-year-old and saying, okay, I'm so sorry that kid said that to you. He did not know what he was talking about. And, to just really take the time because, again, like I said earlier, we make up stories to make sense of our world when we're a child, and we don't have the tools to know what's really going on, so we just make it up to the best of our ability. And if we don't go back and correct the interpretations in a loving, healing way for that child, we just live them out in our adult life.
And they can have unbelievable consequences later
Oh
on in
my
life.
gosh, yes. Oh, they can. They can. Like my 7-year-old self, made up all those rules. I have to please everyone. I can't ever let anyone know when I don't want to do what they're saying I should do. Can you imagine all the problems that come from that mindset? And what I found too was, even with doing so much work on myself for a long time, if I would get stressed, the 7-year-old started running the show again.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and at least at this point you recognize it.
Yes, yes. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people recognize it.
It's vital.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, I'm the more that it's interesting. I've been running commercials for Allison on KKNW in Seattle, and I may have another coach on. And after I run it, I'll say, and you bet you're wondering why I'm running a commercial for another coach when I've got a coach right here. It's because there are 8 billion people on the planet, and everybody needs one of you.
Yes,
And there
I
aren't enough
agree.
to go around.
I agree 100%. I really do.
And if you want to, you can go to a psychiatrist for $350 an hour or whatever it is. But a lot of times, all it takes is, the other thing that you do that some psychology and working with Allison is you get groups of people together, groups
Mm-hmm.
of like-minded people that are all interested in the same thing. It is dynamic what you guys can do for each other.
Oh yes, totally. The energy of, it's greater than the parts, right? When you get people that are really intent on healing, it's remarkable. And that's why being at Behind the Power Live is just a phenomenal experience. One of the reasons it is.
Explain, shall we go over that in case somebody is not familiar with that and is listening to this now or in the future, before October 19th, 2022, but you can always then wait to 23 because there's going to be another one in 23 as well. But if you're listening to this before October 19th, 2022, you can go to Behind the Power, and
Yes.
that's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. And you can go to AllisonRoberts.com and get the information you need for that, and then you can sign up for it. They're going to be in a 4-star or 5-star hotel, which, by the way, has a pool on the roof.
Oh my gosh, do you know, I didn't even know that. Thank you, Kevin. Now I'm even more excited. I didn't even know that.
You're going to have to bring your suit because
I know.
yeah, and it's Atlanta in October, so it's still warm.
Yes, yes.
And so you can have a panoramic view of the city and sunbathe at the same time.
Ah, see, that's perfect. And yeah, I am so honored to be part of it. I was part of it last year and it was just incredible. And it's going to be even better this year. The amount of healing that's going to happen, it just makes my heart happy because I just feel like the world needs it so much right now. So much.
You think?
Maybe a little. Yeah. Yeah.
We have got more. I mean, I'm a little older than you. I've been around 65 years. I have never seen a time when there is such a life-changing, cataclysmic things going on, from mass shootings to the Supreme Court to what's his name? I forget his name. It starts with a T. Anyway, and other issues that we are all facing, and we've got issues that we need to fix within ourselves before we can address anything with anyone else.
Yes.
That's why it's really cool what you're doing.
And I think that's I have on my website. I have pink pages. You can go to my a page in my website to download pink pages, which are just intuitive little messages that I have. But one of them is about one of the most loving things you can do for the planet is to heal yourself, to be willing to heal. And I think, can you imagine the energy if everyone just ups their healing game for themselves, what an effect that will have on the planet?
Absolutely. And my other big one is that we have to understand and get together, and we have to expand our tribe to include everybody.
Yes.
Because we are all one. We all come from the same place. We all are made up of the same stuff, with minor itty bitty teeny weeny differences, in which we should celebrate those differences as well. And if we recognize and if we believed that we were all one people together, we could solve a lot of problems together. Speaking of which, it's going to be 95 in Seattle today, and there's no such thing as global warming. So it is awesome time. Now I wanted to mention with you you're an intuitive life coach. How do you use your intuition when you're coaching?
Oh, okay. Great question. So the way my gift works is, I have coaching certifications and I use a lot of traditional coaching things. But what happens in the coaching, I do one-on-ones, privates, and something will come to me and I'm amazed that it comes through and it's incredibly helpful to my client. And I actually think, wow, where did that come from? I mean, I know where it came from, but that's the feeling you get, like, I wasn't expecting that, And so that's how I tap into my intuition during my coaching. And I'm so grateful for it. It's like a privilege for me to be able to witness what comes through and is helpful and healing to my client.
And now, do you ever talk to those guys on the other side, kind of thing?
Well, my gift's a little bit different. I'm Christian, and so I do feel like mine is the Holy Spirit, as well as some, loving loved ones, possibly. But generally, it's just a very loving message that seems right on time.
And I just want to be clear that being Christian does not disqualify you from getting messages from the Holy Spirit.
Oh, correct. Yes, I agree with you. Totally.
And it's what's in your heart. Yeah. And if you are all inclusive and want to help everybody on the planet and you want to do what Jesus would do, that's a wholly different thing than not eating meat on Fridays during Lent because it's a rule. It's right. You know what I'm saying? So
yes. I have clients that are Christian. I have clients that are not Christian. That makes no difference to me. Nope. I just like to be upfront about my beliefs, just so, and for me, that's the way my gift works, And
it fits within your structure of how you're working your coaching business, and that is perfectly okay. And the people or person or the Holy Spirit on the other side, they don't care either. In my humble opinion, they want you to be the best coach that you can be, so that they can bring people to you who can get healed by you, or not by you, by themselves, but with your help.
Yes, exactly. I'm a guide, and I feel, and isn't it great that, like, if someone's watching this and they're drawn to call me, there's a reason, and there's a reason people are drawn to, call you and want to connect with you. I just love that, because it's all by design. You pay attention to your heart and you'll see the path forward.
You would not believe how many times I'll have somebody like you or Allison on the radio show that I do on KKNW, and somebody will call and they will say, I was just surfing the dial and I found your show and found this content, and it's exactly what I needed today.
That's so great. I love that.
And it's like, well, I had nothing to do with it. Alice had nothing to do with it. Somebody else had orchestrated that, but they did it for a reason.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I do what I do. is, and I can't. I'm stuck. I'm a little addicted to it now, I'm afraid.
Well, I can see why. It's wonderful. I like I said at the very beginning, I'm so glad that you do the show. You put so much light into the world.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Goodness knows I'm trying.
You're
It's
doing it.
it's hard, when um and there's a lot of people that would say, "Oh yeah, positive talk." No, see, now there's that negative voice in my head again.
Right?
So you
Yeah.
got to. So I want you to come over here and slap me upside the head every time that I think something like that.
Okay.
I'd
Well,
appreciate that.
and it's so true that because you have self-worth, but maybe not. Maybe it's like your area. I always like to say area of opportunity, like, oh, that's my next level up,
Yep.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's and so I'm working with something called authentic grit, which what that is to live your life as powerfully and as spot on, as honestly, with integrity and kindness, and take care of everybody to the best of your ability every moment of every day that you're walking the planet.
I love that. I just got chills.
Ah, see,
Yes. Good stuff.
now I feel good about myself again. But by the way, we've been talking with Audra Zimpel. She is. You have to understand. I'm dyslexic when it comes to names. I don't know why, especially last names. But she's an intuitive life coach. She's out of Georgia, but she can do things digitally and virtually and be on Zoom anywhere in the world. So look her up. Can we have your information, please?
Sure. It's audrazimpel.com. So that's AudraZimpel.com.
It's a beautiful website, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And it means something because you've got lots of information there and lots of stuff. Don't you have something free on your website, or what is that?
Yes, the pink pages, that would the intuitive messages. Yes, that's free on my website. And I also offer, if anyone is interested, I do a 20-minute complimentary call if someone is interested in checking out the coaching program.
And you do a bunch of different coaching programs, and I really like the you even have one if somebody is a fundamentalist Christian, like as an example, my mother was. That she could feel comfortable coming to you because of the type of work that you do.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, and that's why there are lots of different coaches who occupy lots of different niches, and you just need to interview them and find the right one.
Right.
And so you would be a good fit for her if she were still around, although she didn't think well, never mind. So I really want to thank you for being here, and I want to give you the opportunity right now to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know, the people that are listening now and those that are going to be listening in the future, because this is going to be up forever.
Okay. I just feel on my heart to say, if you are someone who is dealing with depression, or you just feel stuck and you feel like you've lost some access to your joy, or if joy kind of just feels foreign to you right now, please, please, please give yourself the gift of working on yourself for healing. You're so worth it. You're so worth it. And it gets so much better. I was in that really, really dark place. And if I had not gotten help, I would have missed out on an amazing husband and 2 beautiful children. And I can't even get my head around missing what I would have missed, So that's my message. So just, you're worth it. Get the help that you need, because you are so worth it, and the world needs your light.
And she is going to be at the Behind the Power conference that is happening October 19th through the 21st, 2022. Go to AllisonRoberts.com, get the information you need so that you can go. And I think that it would be I wish I could go this year, quite honestly.
I wish you could too.
I think it would be just a wonderful time. And by the way, it's a 3-day deal. They feed you breakfast, they feed you lunch, so you're there all day. And because even if you were local, I would advise you to book a hotel room.
Yes.
Because there's going to be a ton of stuff that's going to happen at night around small tables in conversation with different people. You get,
Yes, yes.
speaking of which, who's that?
I'm so sorry. That's my dog.
Well, I got that part, but
Yeah, really, Audra? Is that a dog? That's my Australian Shepherd, Bindi. And I believe you had a dog that was part Australian Shepherd. Is that correct?
wow, you have been paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
The best dog of my life was an Australian Shepherd Labrador mix. And
Aw,
they're smart, they're fast, they're funny, and Australia. I love Australian Shepherds. They're
me
just
too. She's a blessing. We love her so much, but she's very loud.
was she? Well, she's protecting you. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
she wants to make sure everybody's safe, and
Yes.
that's. Have you given her a job?
Yes, she wakes up the boys. She goes and tells them when it's dinner time, that sort of thing.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Well, and that's good that you've given her a job, because my son had a border collie
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't know that they were supposed to give him a job, so she picked one, and it wasn't a good job.
Oh,
Um,
oh no. What was it?
Eating the carpet,
Oh,
eating the couch, nipping on the child, all that kind of stuff. So they had to give her back because they were not they were not qualified to, because those dogs, you have to really work with them.
oh yes, yes. We definitely got training and spent so much time with her, and I'm so glad. She did go through a small phase of eating the woodwork, and my husband's a woodworker, so that was problematic, but it was a short phase.
I'm sure he made sure that she wasn't going to do that anymore.
Yes, he was like, okay, we've got to address this.
Well, your husband must be a magnificent man to have you for a wife, and
Aw,
your children are very lucky to have you for a mother, and your dog is as a mother as well. So
thank you.
um,
That's so nice of you to say. Thank you.
I don't lie, so I try really hard to tell the truth, and so. But your website one more time, my dear.
AudraZimpel.com.
And you have yourself a wonderful day, and I thank you so much for doing this, and I thank everybody that's been listening. You guys are wonderful support for each other, and I think it's just remarkable, and
Oh,
I thank you all.
thank you so much. You made this so fun, and I really enjoyed it, Kevin. And I really wish you could be there, but maybe next year for Behind the Power.
Next year for sure.
Okay.
Next year for sure. But if you wait right there, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we got.